Staying in my play pretend where the fun ain't got no end. Oh, oh, oh. Can't go home alone again. Need someone to numb the pain. You're gone and I gotta stay all the time to keep you off my mind. Oh, oh, oh. Hello, my name is Kurt, and today I will be talking about habits. Now please forgive me if this video is a tad bit disheveled, because I am drinking booze. Some fine stout. Puts hair on a man's chest. Now before I get into that, I was singing a Tove Lo song in the beginning of this video, and I was having an argument with various men that say, oh, Taylor Swift is so much hotter than Tove Lo and Lorde and all that stuff. And I could see the charm of Taylor Swift, but I don't really see anything special. Like, to me, Tove Lo is like 10 times better. So is Lorde. Like, a lot of people think Lorde is like this just creepy, like, emo weirdo chick, but I don't know. I'm this is strange. Lorde to me is hotter than Taylor Swift. Yeah, beauty is an eye of the beholder. So yeah, let's get into it. Habits. Now, I made a previous video talking about how we are all some fine scotch for a young man like me. It was funny when I go to the liquor store and I'm like, yeah, give me a bottle of scotch. They're like, oh, you're buying this for your dad or what? Let me see your ID. I show them my ID. They're like, you're 23 years old. Like, is this scotch for you? Because I'm friends with most of the people in the liquor store, so they always kind of chit chat with me. Otherwise, in other liquor stores, nobody gives a shit what you're buying. Like, scotch is a drink old men drink. And I'm like, yeah, I also smoke pipes and cigars. So, and I didn't know that old men drink scotch, so now I'm a full-blown old man because it's something I really enjoy. It's beyond the point. Like I said, this video might be a little bit disheveled. Alright, let's get into it. See, in the previous video I talked about psychedelics and things like that, and how using substances really isn't that effective in spiritual practices. And this is true if you do not know how to use them. But I believe that everything should be kind of tried and done in moderation. What I do not agree upon is being kind of a stoner. You're stoned 24/7, every day, and you're living in sort of a fantasy clouded type of reality, and you're like, yeah man, I feel so spiritual. How the fuck can you feel spiritual if you don't even know what reality kind of is anymore? And I know a lot of people say, oh yeah, cannabis is a medicinal plant, it's very helpful. Yes, but when it's abused, if anything's abused to that degree, it causes problems. I could freaking drink fucking 4 gallons of water a day, and oh yeah man, it's natural. But it'll still fuck you up. So, I believe that all these substances can be helpful. Do not think that I am some kind of pleasure type of person, because I believe I'm gonna show you guys what I believe in this video from my own perceptions of reality. See, we as human beings and even animals. See, a lot of people say, oh yeah, humans are so filthy, they just want to get ripped all the time. This is the natural state of any living being. We all seek out pleasures. If you look at animals, you look at deer eat Amanita muscaria mushrooms, gorillas eat fermented fruit, cougars and jaguars seek out various different mind-altering things too. Even animals seek out pleasurable things. Why would a gorilla eat fermented fruit if it tastes nasty? They know that it gives them a buzz. And our primary fundamental instinct and function is ruled by these drives. The dopamine discharge and the serotonin and all these chemicals in the brain are discharged every time you do something pleasurable. So to say we are not all addicts is completely stupid. We are all addicted to something. And, you can say, oh, I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't do this. Okay, you know what is addiction? You could sit and you could daydream about anything. And what does that do? You're altering your consciousness and it's releasing dopamine in your brain because you're thinking about, skipping through the fields with your beautiful girlfriend and, all this stuff, and that's creating a chemical reaction in your brain. And that is still an addiction. You know, oh, I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't do any of this. You watch TV, you stay on the internet, you do all this stuff. Like I said, without this drive, we would not evolve. This is the primary drive that has led us to evolution, because the primal man, the caveman, would be like, okay, I need to hunt down that, antelope or something because I'm hungry. And that's fueled by hunger, but it's also fueled by dopamine, because the second he would run up and slaughter that animal and then cook it on a fire, and then he would take that first bite of that animal, it would be like a reward. It's like, ah, finally I get to eat, that fulfillment, that feeling, that's dopamine. That's a chemical reaction in the brain. And I personally believe, from my own perception and from my analysis of life so far, is that this is all we're kind of meant to do. Like, we're kind of structured in this pattern of following things that are pleasurable. The same thing that leads a person to drink and to smoke and all that stuff is the same thing that leads a person to make money, to have sex, to do all these things, Because what happens? You go to your job, you work, you freaking like, ah, man, I hate this, but you're like, I need that money, it's that drive. And then the second you get your paycheck, the dopamine hits. It's like, yes, I made $5,000, man. I'm gonna go, and then I'm gonna buy beer, and I'm gonna go freaking party and stuff. See, it's dopamine being discharged, and then you're like, yes, I can finally do things that allow me to have more pleasure. We are structured upon seeking pleasure, and I do not see how anybody could disagree with that. We are creatures made for pleasure. It only becomes a hindrance, in my opinion, is when you overdo it, But like I said, anything could be addiction. I play guitar, I'm a guitarist, right? You take away my guitar for like a week, not even a week, you take away my guitar for 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, and I start going through withdrawal, like literally going through physical withdrawal and mental withdrawal. I start getting cranky and I'm like pissed off at everything, and I'm like, I just want to play guitar, man. And that's that. It's withdrawal. It's the same withdrawal an alcoholic would go through. It's the same withdrawal an opiate user would go to. Obviously, those withdrawals might be worse, you know what I mean? But still, I do have withdrawal for my guitar. And, when I finally get it and I sit down and I start playing, it's like, all my emotions are released, and then, I start daydreaming about being a rock star, and I'm just like pretending I'm on stage and all the people are shouting and all this stuff, and that creates another release of chemicals in the brain. See, this is all, we all try to run away from our misfortunes through these things. And like I said, it has been kind of miswired, I want to say, in today's society. Because back then, if you think about it, what was life? You were a farmer, you had a wife, you plowed the field, and then life was basically just to survive. And you would drink a beer once in a while and this and that, and that's it. Now it's like we constantly seek out pleasure because we live such shitty lives in such sheltered places. You're at work fucking 5 days a week, and then you finally go out on the weekend. What do? You go to a club, another locked in place, and then you fool yourself into believing that you're having a good time. But, substances come into play, because if you just go to a club and you don't do anything, you'll be pretty bored. Um, so our society's kind of driven upon this principle. Like I said, it's driven to another degree. Like I said, before, life was kind of just for survival, and the pleasure you derived was from just living the way humans should live. Now it's like we do everything falsely. We do all this fake shit, and then even now, the synthesis of synthetic cannabinoids and all these synthetic or freaking bath salts and all this shit. We are stumbling upon substances that are so strong that they make you trip out for like 3 days in a row. Like, we never had that back in the day. So it's getting a lot worse. And my prediction for the future is that sooner or later we will stumble upon certain chemicals that will kind of leave you in a tripping state for weeks, months, who knows, and eventually our lives will kind of become freaking just a constant trip, because reality is becoming shit. The more technology progresses, the more I see that things are becoming shittier. Habits increasing, addictions increasing, like, we're withdrawing from our true nature. We should be rolling around butt naked in the fields with a beautiful girl, or a beautiful, if you're a girl, like a beautiful dude, like, we should be, chasing after our food and climbing trees and shit like that. That's what this body was kind of built for. But we're ignoring that right now. We're stagnating. And those things are being used for something else. Like, I read somewhere in some kind of article that, like, I think, like, a couple of generations from now, our thumbs are going to be, like, 10 times their size that they are now, because we text so much and we use them so much for electronics. Evolution is being kind of misguided. It's not becoming natural anymore. We are evolving to suit technology. See, this is the funny thing. People say, oh yeah, we are the rulers of technology. But the truth is, technology is ruling us. It's changing us. But yeah, I really don't feel like rambling too much. I just felt like saying that everything is sort of an addiction. It's all about moderation. They say that spiritual things have been founded upon psychedelic substances, and Terence McKenna's theory of monkeys eating psilocybin, and progressing to the point of humans. These are all theories, but hell, every theory is a good one. We need explanations. We need as many explanations as we could possibly get. You look at ancient cultures and stuff like that, like, you look at even, like, far beyond, modern times. Far before modern times, you look at, the age of Odin and mythology and all this stuff. Like, you would have berserkers, people, warriors that would get ripped on mead, which was kind of like a fermented. They were drunk all the time because they didn't have safe water supplies. Their water was kind of poisoned, so they would make beer out of that. And the beer was mead, so it was like bread mixed with beer. So not only did you get hammered and get your thirst fulfilled, but you would also, like, quench your hunger, because it would be full of calories and stuff like that. Yeah, you look at people back then, berserkers, they would get hammered on mead, eat, like, Amanita muscaria mushrooms, and they would go wild, and they would charge into battle and slaughter hundreds of people, whatever, and that's what kind of civilization was founded upon. You look at old pictures of Indian Sufis and all these people, they all had opium pipes, like even Leonardo da Vinci was found of in the opium, smoking opium and stuff like that. This can be seen for as long as humans existed, for as long as even animals exist, like I said, so there must be something to it. Spiritual foundations, certain religions could have been created on psychoactive substances. Like, honestly speaking, like, I think I think the only kind of religions that weren't structured upon psychedelic substances were kind of pagan-based beliefs, like the worshipping of nature, the worshipping of trees, the elements, and all this stuff. That is our natural instinct. I believe that all these, we didn't really have an image of anything. We worshipped the ground we walked on. We didn't worship some kind of higher power. We worshiped the moon, the sun. This is all natural. But sooner or later, we started to get like sort of humanoid figures that we worship. All these bodhisattvas, all these pictures and paintings of blue freaking people playing pipes and stuff like that. It's like, I believe those were founded upon psychedelic substances. Like somebody would get hammered and have visions of all these sort of things, and it also blends in to the culture. You know, you look at Odin, pictures of Odin, it reflects the image of sort of Viking, Germanic type of heritage. But then you look at pictures of Krishna, and it like this blue Indian dude. You see where this comes from? So I feel like people would just get hammered and like have visions of all this stuff, and they're like, oh yes, this is a god, and then it came to speak to me and all this stuff. Yeah, I don't want to get into religious discussions, but I honestly think Jesus Christ was a stoner. My personal belief is that Jesus Christ was a schizophrenic, like stoner with a God complex, and he fooled all these people into believing that he was the Son of God, and that's why he was crucified, because they saw that he was a delusional freaking idiot, and they hung his ass. And then the miracles, like, in the Bible it says, oh, you shouldn't practice sorcery, but what did Jesus do? He was a goddamn witch. He was a wizard. And you could say, oh, those miracles came from God, they came from a divine. He was still a sorcerer. He was still, somebody who used these things. Wherever the fuck it came from, it, wherever it flowed from, he was still using this. So he was a sorcerer. See where all this stuff contradicts itself? That's why I believe there's also vampiric elements in Christianity too, like eating the body and blood of Christ. That is strange, and that's done in secret societies all the time. Oh shit, I shouldn't get into it. But never mind. No, you don't drink blood and eat real flesh in these secret societies. I won't. I wouldn't know, seriously. But I mean, you could see this link of blood being used far before that. You look at hand fasting ceremonies, like both participants kind of cut their wrists and bound them together, bound by blood. You know what I mean? And to me, that's kind of more sacred than just putting a ring on your finger. And that has astrological meanings too. The ring is placed upon the marriage finger. Is actually the finger ruled by, I think it's either Mercury or Apollo or something like that. I'm not entirely sure, but it's a link to the heart. It's a link to sort of represent that bond or something. So nothing is for no reason. Everything is symbolic. A lot of people think, oh yeah, it's just the ring finger and it just fits there perfectly. That's why it's called that way. And there's nothing to it. That's just how it was. Where the fuck did it come from? It had to come from somewhere. So you can see symbolism and all this stuff. Oh yeah. I kind of trailed off of rambling upon habits and addictions to rambling to other stuff, and I'm just free flowing here. But like I said, I feel that everything was kind of founded upon altered states of mind. These are our primary drives. To seek out sex, to seek out food. Our primary survival instincts are driven by this. But I said, they're very miswired right now. So, it's becoming corrupt. See, I don't believe that you should smoke weed daily, even if it's a beneficial plant. Smoke once a week. Well, once every 2 weeks. Then you get the full benefit of it. No tolerance. You're not affecting your normal. Everything should be a balance, the yin and the yang. If you knock that shit out of balance, it's going to be hard to get back again. Speak to any stoner. Or if you're a stoner yourself, you smoke weed for every day for a year, you get burnt out, and eventually when you stop, suddenly you're like, you realize that you actually are addicted to it, and you can't function without it. And you're like, oh shit, I'm so clouded. My mind is so cloudy and all that shit. That's the same thing with all these. I know a lot of Molly users, MDMA. They pop that shit fucking every week when they go to club, multiple times a week. You know, 3 times a week, 4 times a week. You know, that shit damages the brain like crazy. These people are spaced out all the time, and they just look like zombies. Like, what man, what? And sometimes they get that fucking stimulant kind of twitch, the whole jaw thing. Like, yeah, man. And they get that shit even if they don't take the substance anymore. You know what I mean? So it really fucks you up. Should all these things be shunned? No, I don't believe that. We are creatures of pleasure. We are here to enjoy everything fully. But I do not believe in abuse. Even animals are wise. They don't get hammered. Well, what is it, the panda or the koala that's drunk all the damn time off of the leaves and shit like that? But other animals have common sense. They don't get hammered all the time. Like gorillas, they don't get hammered daily because fruit takes a while to ferment. You see what I mean? Maybe if they had availability of fermented fruit constantly, they would probably get hammered all the time because this is just our natural state, I think. But I do not believe it should be abused. You know, MDMA once a month. You know, once every 2 months. You know, LSD again once a month, once every 3 months. You know, span that shit out and make it a meaningful experience. Because if you do it daily, you'll develop a tolerance. Most psychedelics don't even work if you use them more than, you can't use them more than once a week, I think. So, everything in moderation. This is the healthy way. This is the blending of yin and yang, witches, all these people, like, they've been known to use plants, herbs, get ripped on henbane and, what's the other one? Angel's trumpet, datura, stuff like that. And that's where the whole flying witch myth came from. They would get hammered on all these psychedelics and like they would kind of think they were flying or whatever, but we never know the true origin of all these things. It's all speculation. So I guess I'm gonna end it because shit, this booze is really hitting my head. Cheers. Moderation. Everything is an addiction. Because wanking off, pornography, watching movies, artists, you're a painter. You paint stuff, and then when it's finally done, you're happy. Because you're like, hey, I transform my emotions, my feelings into a physical thing. And then other people say, hey man, that's a really nice painting, that's very beautiful, blah, blah. More dopamine release. See how all this functions? We're all addicts. We are all addicts. Without this drive in our mind, we would not progress. But it shouldn't be, how should I say, abused. It should be enjoyed. Drink once a week. Enjoy life.